Hi, my name is Courtney Norton, and I am a resident of Alpine. I would like to thank the Alpine Community Planning Group for changing the format for receiving public comments and allowing the public to speak on our own behalf. Hopefully now ACPG can put names to faces and not see the community as just opposition. After last month's meeting, I was completely discouraged and appalled at how a couple of members of ACPG reacted to the public's participation in the meetings. As elected officials, you represent the community. If you do not have the time to listen to the community, then, in my opinion, you are not living up to the community's or the ACPG's expectations. Regarding the proposed county park, my personal concerns for the proposed park are the environmental impacts it will have on Wrights Field ecological. With the development of a park to this magnitude, it is completely naive to say that the park will not have impacts on Wrights Field proper. We are blessed as residents of Alpine to have this preserve, which is part of the South County Multi-Species Conservation Plan and has native grasslands, which are rare habitat in San Diego County. Once this land is gone, it is gone forever. Preserve Alpine's Heritage is a group of concerned Alpine residents who care deeply about the future of Alpine. We too are volunteering time, energy, and resources to make a difference for our community we all love. As leadership of Preserve Alpine's Heritage, we want to work with ACPG to focus on dialogue, collaboration, and ultimately mutual compromise to find the best situation and solution for all residents of Alpine. We want the opportunity to open the dialogue and engage with the Alpine Community Planning Group. Thank you for your commitment to Alpine, and I look forward to my continued involvement in the future of our community.
Okay, so quickly, my name is Julie Simper. I'm a 10-year resident of Alpine, and also want to thank you for the opportunity to participate in person. We really welcome this format change as a way to avoid misrepresentations, but more importantly, foster mutual understanding, respect, and collaboration. On behalf of Preserve Alpine's Heritage and the hundreds of community members who have joined in support, I'm honored to now personally introduce you to who we are, our positions, and goals. Preserve Alpine's Heritage is a group of dedicated community advocates. We promote meaningful collaboration and creative partnerships with key stakeholders and public representatives like the Alpine Community Planning Group. We truly do embrace a diversity of views, and we are working toward the common goal of designing innovative, sustainable, and financially responsible solutions that bring the desired facilities and services to Alpine. However, we believe these must preserve the unique natural, cultural, and rural heritage of our community. Yes, we strongly oppose the scope of the proposed 26-acre all-in-one park with extensive sports and active recreational facilities at the location next to Wrights Field Ecological Preserve. Like this planning group did during its January meeting, voting not to accept the current design, we recognize there are simply too many serious concerns and unanswered questions to justify proceeding as proposed. However, we do support developing a nature-based park at this location, a park that minimizes the impact on the environment in rural setting, provides appropriate recreational activities that respect and complement the preserve, and protects the preserve from habitat destruction. Further, we believe that Alpine can do better than one large park fraught with design flaws and located far from the populated town center. Other towns just like Alpine have successfully created a network of small local parks that offer unique and needed recreational activities throughout town while being connected by a system of safe walkways, bike paths, and trails. Alpine already has existing parks and sports facilities that are underutilized and in need of attention. Alpine also has locations that are suited to many of the desired sports activities, such as the all-wheel park. The proven benefits of a network of local parks versus one large park are far-reaching and community-wide. Easier access for all, increased safety, revitalization of existing facilities, less environmental impact, increased physical activities, and connection to other resources such as schools, public transportation, libraries, and local businesses. We seek to work with the Alpine Community Planning Group to focus on dialogue, understanding, and compromise. We do not want to be limited solely to a position of opposition. Instead, we want to be seen as a new and growing community resource, comprising people who, just like you, are truly committed to the betterment of Alpine and to the enhancement of the quality of life of all of its residents. We sincerely hope you accept this invitation for collaboration and agree that increased community engagement is something to be embraced and encouraged. To that end, we welcome all opportunities for partnership and specifically look forward to further information regarding the public meeting on park discussions as you announced during your meeting last month. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, Travis. My name is Jonah Gula. I was born and raised in Alpine. And like Julie and Courtney, my comments are regarding the proposed park plan. But I want to take sort of a larger perspective about this plan. So, as you already read in the statement about this group, you guys are an advisory board and you're representing us as a community. And obviously you all know that. But I think in the last meeting, many of us were questioning how objective your representation is. It caused us to doubt the role of this planning group because you were basically sort of belittling those that are fighting against the agenda of some of the people in this group. And we can talk about all the number of issues of the proposed park for hours, but like I said, I want to address a larger perspective. I'm an ecologist, so my most prominent objections are environmental. And 2 meetings ago, when you guys were speaking about the group, George Burnett downplayed the environmental impact the park would have on Wrightsfield's ecosystem by suggesting that the relatively small portion of the natural habitat that would be lost was inconsequential. But I'd say that his comment is pretty moot because 99% of California's grasslands have been lost and almost nearly as much in San Diego County. And most people think that things like deforestation and climate change are real issues that are threatening our future and our environment. But I think it's really decisions at the local level that are one of the greatest threats to diminishing sensitive ecosystems like that of Wrightsfield. And since this group, the planning group, is one of those bodies of people that makes these decisions at the local level, I'm holding groups like this responsible for this perpetual chipping away of open spaces, not only in San Diego, not only in California, but in the United States. And this isn't meant to be like a spiteful accusation of this group, but rather something that's thought-provoking. I'm trying to appeal to your character as community members. Think about the smaller decisions that this planning group makes about what you might consider land use changes from a more small land use changes from a more holistic perspective. You have a role in shaping the future of Alpine based on your decisions and the advice that you give to the Board of Supervisors. And the implications go beyond just the immediate desires of something like a park with every bell and whistle imaginable. And so if the seemingly small decisions have these far-reaching implications, consider those that a park of this caliber have. So not only would you be putting a park in a proposed location that would be damaging to the grassland it would replace, but the bleed-over effects to the Backcountry Land Trust property would be significant, and really no one has addressed that bleed-over effect issue, not Parks and Rec, Backcountry Land Trust, or this group. And so I'm asking this group to not only consider... Okay. I'm asking you to not only consider the desire of the community at present, which are mixed, by the way, despite what some with an agenda would make you think, but also to consider what you want Alpine to look like in the future. Children will always have paved over and turfed land.
Thank you so much, and I hate to do this, but we do have, I'd let you go over for about 30, 40 seconds, so I'm going to go ahead and cut it there.
Thank you. I'm Annie Norton, and I am a longtime resident of Alpine. Thank you for allowing each of us to speak and be heard tonight. This proposed park, as it is presently planned, will forever alter and change the character and ambiance of the bordering neighborhoods. I want to throw out a possible solution to many aspects of the park that just do not jive with this currently proposed location. We have an historical site, the Alpine Elementary School, AES for short, that is sitting idle and empty. AES could potentially be the perfect fit with regards to providing the activities in the park that should be clustered within the higher populated area of Alpine, which is our village center. These activities are the skateboard park, the bike park, the playing fields, the community garden, and the dog park. If designed properly, AES could become a stalwart example of incorporating historical value with the present needs of our community. AES already has the infrastructure. It has playing fields, it has reasonable off-street parking, it has existing water and sewer hookups, it addresses the traffic flow, fields could be lighted without causing light pollution. Situated at this school in the heart of our town, the bike, skate, and dog parks would not cause noise pollution. This is where these types of activities belong and are best served. Finally, the park issue is very complex. 3 minutes is just not enough time to deal with the complex issues involving this park. Mr. Lyons suggested at the last ACPG meeting that a special meeting could be held to allow more in-depth review. Could we schedule such a meeting? If that is not to your liking, this proposed park should be worthy of at least an agenda item. Whatever you decide, would you please inform the community of the specific date? Thank you.
And thank you for your time. I am Dominique Norton, a 13-year resident of Alpine, property owner and a mother of a 21-month-old. I am speaking tonight in reference to the proposed park plan. At the February ACPG meeting, members of the planning group said that they had been working on finding a park land for 20 years and that those of us who are in opposition are ungrateful NIMBYs. I find this sentiment very upsetting. My question to you is, what have you been doing for the last 20 years? You are our leaders who appear to be unable to truly lead this community. You want to hang your hat on finally finding a solution to obtaining a park you have been working on. In that same time, Alpine's existing recreational facilities have fallen into disrepair. I would like to bring to your attention that on numerous occasions over the same 20 years, the county has issued various statements, some directly to the Alpine Community Planning Group, stating due to the significant biological resources, the proposed park location should never be developed. Specifically, in a July 22, 2005 letter to the ACPG from the Director of County Parks and Recreation, Renee Ball, stated, quote, as stated in previous correspondences, the county does not support developing Wrights Field into an active park. What has changed in the last 16 years? Why is the ACPG not pushing back on the county based on their previous correspondences and opinions? As someone who grew up here, I learned to appreciate our resources based on my time spent playing in Wrights Field Ecological Preserve, including the portion the county owns now. I spoke in front of the Board of Supervisors as a 6th grader advocating for the park protection, for the protection of this land for our future generations. As a mother, I am glad I stood up as a child for what was right, so now my child has the same access to open space I did. We are stewards of this earth. Our resources are even more imperiled now. It is more important now than ever. I plead with you to listen to the concerns of our beloved community members and be willing to stand up and make these hard decisions as our leaders. In addition, I formally request a copy of all correspondences between the Alpine Community Planning Group and the county regarding the proposed park location. Thank you very much for your time. Travis, I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dominique.
I got my
anticipate what the public comment's going to be for each individual user. Again, we'll look at the number of people who request a speaker slip and we'll decide if there's going to be any changes in the 3-minute allotment. I'm going to keep saying this, but part of the focus on any of these things is usually to come back and say, hey, if you have an organized group, provide a specific allotment of time to where they can present and multiple people can present during that time frame and also present individually. So there's a standard protocol for this, and I'm going to follow it just like every other group I've ever seen do. So
hey Travis, is there anything the rest of us on the board can do to facilitate the communication of that to the rest of the community?
Yeah, however you guys want to put it out. I mean,
because
yes.
we have to follow those procedures, and they're. I mean, selfishly, I don't want to be there all night either. But if there's a good expectation, we take a preemptive approach versus having to run an audible and last minute there's a whole bunch of people that need to speak, and then I want to plan and alleviate whatever is going to fall on your shoulders there. Last minute, you have to switch things around, and then you have a bunch of angry people that don't get to speak.
I understand. And I mean, like I said, I think we've had meetings, guys. This is the first time we've had to do it over Zoom, but we've had a number of meetings where we've had more people show up than we have time for, and we we make that decision at the time as far as, and every group, planning commission, board of supervisors, everybody else. And in some groups, they say, hey, we have 30 minutes for public comment, and anything else goes at the end of the meeting. We don't do that. I think we've been as transparent as possible and as engaging as possible at every meeting I've ever been at with this group. So,
Mr. Chairman, I have two suggestions. It's common for the Board of Supervisors and Planning Commission to have a rule when there's too many people to speak and the cause the meeting to go on for hours and hours, that once a speaker makes a point, the next speaker, they ask, is this a point that you would make? So that we don't have people repeating it. The person could stand up and say, no, I was going to talk about this, thank you. And the second one is that because the community really doesn't understand everything, I'm not sure the board does either, because we really haven't had a chance to have a thorough orientation from the county, that we have the issue first and then the comments afterwards, because the comments will be related to this, but they can be a lot more intelligent because they will understand maybe something that they didn't understand before. And so their comments will be more to the point and more objective.
yeah, no, I appreciate that. Hey guys, I'm going to be honest. You guys elect me to chair. I'm going to run the meeting, and the reason is I'm going to run it the way I've seen every other public meeting run, and there's a pretty standard protocol for this stuff. I'm not going to anticipate whether somebody's pro or against. I'm going to let everybody have their opportunity to speak. I agree with you, Al. One thing the county does is they provide speaker slips, and it provides you an opportunity to speak on it, and it does allow they give them a yellow one if they're neutral, a red one if they're against, or a green one if they're for, and it also lets them say, hey, I showed up at the meeting and I'm just for the project and I don't want to speak at all. County of San Diego, the Planning Commission, the Board of Supervisors has a paid staff. I don't. It's me. We're trying to run these meetings. I feel like I'm doing a good job in making sure we're facilitating public comment. We're holding these meetings virtually. So I just say, I understand all those things. I don't know how to do that to that degree. I think everybody understands that sometimes focusing and making your points very clear and succinct is more effective. But I also know at the Board of Supervisors, they let people get up and people want to ramble on for a minute about whatever they want to ramble on for. They do it. So I'm going to kind of follow the standard protocol, if that's okay. So the April 6th, we'll get that out there. And then Justin, to your point, we can advertise it. And I don't expect, I'll be honest, I feel like we can get everybody who wants to speak and be able to speak in their time frame. Not everybody takes a full 3 minutes, and for those who want to take the full allotted time, they're absolutely within their right to do so. I'm going to make sure they have that opportunity to do it. So, Jim, any other vice chair updates?
No, thank you.
And Jennifer Swanson her call dropped off, so she's not able to provide her secretary update, or that she's actually accepted the role of secretary. We'll see. So, you laughed, Justin. You were gone last meeting, and so was Jennifer, and it was a coin flip. I gave you the benefit of the doubt. I said he's a busy guy, young kids, and Jennifer, you're going to do this, and I don't know if she was happy with me or not. We'll find out when she's back on the call.
I was like, I got lucky.
You escaped.
Yeah. I'd still taken the minute, so I don't know who's escaped yet. All right. Request for agenda items at upcoming meetings. Anything? One thing, we did hear public comment for the second meeting in a row. I might look at our regular meeting in April to address the marijuana ordinance that the Board of Supervisors is addressing. I feel like that does land squarely within land use, just as like ABC permits do. And so I'm going to plan to have that on a meeting agenda, whether it's in April or May is depending. Then obviously Jim Bowles in the capital improvement needs assessment will address that one as well. No approval of expenses. Planning groups meeting April 22nd, and we can go ahead and add April 6th onto that. Subcommittees will be published in the newspaper and online. Planning Commission meets April 16th. Board of Supervisors meets April 6th and 7th. I hear a motion to adjourn.
Motion to approve.
I'll second it.
All right, motion to adjourn. Mike Millen seconding. All in favor?
Aye.
All
Good
opposed?
night.
Abstain? Hey, thank you guys so much for your time, and thank you everybody for attending. I really appreciate bearing with us through tonight's change in format. I think it was an improvement, so thank you.
Thank you, Travis.
Good night. Good night.
Travis.
Night.
Night, everybody.
Thank God. Oh my God. Longest fucking thing ever.
Did they go over what you needed to go over?
Yeah.
Trails and Conservation Committee with Mr. Easterling, and then COVID hit, so we kind of lost touch with a lot of things.
I'd like to ask the group a question as well. I wanted to find out what their position would be on this park, because we've heard nothing but negative comments this afternoon, and I don't know that these folks have any idea of how long that this park has been are trying to get a park in Alpine. And I think that's one of the major issues that we have right now with our group. Even though we're an advisory group only, we don't have a lot of power. But I want to make sure that these folks understand that we do not have a lot of power, that we're an advisory group to the county. The county came out and came up with this park idea and they didn't even bring it to our board. They just came up and proposed this new park. And of course, this stirred a big problem with all the citizens of Alpine. So I would also
Hey, Mike.
make sure
Mike.
this group knows that we've been looking for a park location.
Travis, can he hear me?
Yeah, hold
It's
on.
hard to find.
You know, I think that we're all saying the same thing, which is that we recognize the Alpine, the planning group's role in the development of the community, but we're not really getting in front of the situation as it comes up. We all recognize that this is a park. I'm an Alpine resident for 20 years now, so we know that this is something that we've been talking about for a long time. And we understand that the power is within the county, and we recognize that we're not receiving the proper notification. But I think where there's a disconnect is that the community at large does not understand that. And that's why I believe greater communication is necessary, whether it's through, email marketing or a text campaign, just being able to share with them what it is that we're working on, what information is being given to us, and what participation or action they can take to have their voices be heard.
I also had the opportunity to meet with Supervisor Joel Anderson to kind of get some insight into what he thought and how things have been working on the back end, because I know and I understand that as a planning group, you don't get to make the ultimate decision. However, I wanted to hear from his voice kind of the story that he had, and much like him, I don't have a true opinion yet on where everything falls, because as a member of the community, you're right, much of what I hear is negative. But I want to, and I try to be a sounding board to remind them that, knowing that I've worked with children for so long, how important parks are, and how if we can come to a happy medium through the communication and through these meetings, that ultimately we are going to be serving our children and the community in Alpine. And so, like I said, I don't have a true authentic opinion at this time. But I do hear what you guys are saying, and I do know that it is important through communication and through authentic listening and intentional listening that we can come to a solution and give a true opinion of what Alpine represents. So that way, as we do move forward with this park, that we are meeting the needs of our most important part of our community, which is our children, as they will be the ones who get the opportunity to use this park for many generations to come.
As far as the my opinion of the park, I think that it would be hard for me to voice an opinion on it because so much has changed, and just hearing the community talk about it, and I mean, not all the comments have been negative. I mean, I've heard positive comments about it, but I think that the negative comments kind of hide the positive that could be in it for the children as well. And I think at the end of the day, like a lot of the negative comments are coming from like the adults, and we're not truly thinking about the future of what this can bring for our children. But until like I actually dig down into it and hear more information on it, like it would be hard for me to make a decision at this time.
I am pro park. Whether any people like where the location is or is going to evaluate the Wrights Field area, that's where the county decided to put it. And Mike is right. We weren't given the choice to where we wanted it. They bought the land. They said this is what we're going to do, and that's where they're going to put it. We did have some choices in design of it. We listened to the public for 10 solid months about what they wanted. We got a dog park, a BMX track, horses, baseball fields. Yes, we have elementary schools and middle school to have all those things for AYSO and Little League, but I think having community park is another step forward in what Alpine can provide for its citizens. So I'm pro park.
Yes.
What was the name of the group that was, were they just recently formed in representation of the Alpine community in regards to the park?
You're talking about the...
There was a couple of people from the public that spoke, and there was
It's a Preserve Alpine Heritage. And from what I understand, it's recently, in the last 6 months.
Gotcha. Yeah, I just want to say I think that's really great to see people coming together, you know, regardless of anybody's position on a certain topic. You know, one benefit of this last year is that we've all had more time to kind of pay attention to what's going on in the community. And I know that there's many people out there who have positions or frustrations, and they voice them amongst their neighbors and stuff, but nobody really takes the time to say, hey, you know, maybe I would like to get involved in the greater communication of Alpine, and to see people coming together and doing that on their own outside of, you know, whatever, how should I put it, whatever established structure that's already there. I think that's a really good thing. That's something that each of us who have taken the time to serve our community, that's what I think that's a common value amongst all of us, is to see the coming together of community, and that's what we're here to represent. So if there's anything I can do in regards to communication, I definitely don't want to take the seat of public communication at large, but I'd like to explore whatever opportunities I can to find out this new Preserve Alpine Heritage group and see if there's anything that I can do to understand what they're doing within the community. And it sounds like they want to be friends and everybody should be on the same page, which might not happen all at once, but I think it's something that I would be willing to you know, mediate or go forth with. So I just wanted to say that, and just say that it's really nice to see everybody show up and discuss what's going on in their neighborhood and how it affects them.
However, we run into a few things like the Brown Act. And it turns out that we can only do business in a public meeting. So that means that all the subcommittees have to advertise within, I think it's 72 hours and follow all the rules so that the small meetings have the same rules as the whole group, and that does kind of get in the way of just open communication with the community.
Can I respond to that there, Al?
Yeah.
I'd like to respond to that if I may. I was a little distressed when I read some of the emails over the Brown Act situation that some folks were posing as a problem for George and a problem for Travis. I just think that was unconscionable to accuse them of going forward on projects and not adhering to the Brown Act. I know that that's not factual, and I think that they need to rethink their accusations. I can't see anything. I can't say anything but good about both George and Travis, and they've been both steadfast with this planning group. So I don't ever want them to get discouraged and decide to say, "The heck with this, I'm going to leave." That's not what this group is all about. So please don't get discouraged, George or Travis.
Yeah, so in regards to the Brown Act, I think that makes it even that much more simple because everybody's talking about the same thing in transparency. And as an established entity of the state of California, you know, all the way down, well, whatever process we follow has to follow those laws that we've been established to our oath. And there is a method of open communication, and everything is documented. And a lot of people who are experiencing these particular opposition to the park or another issue, they're not quite aware of how to source down that information. I was impressed a couple times tonight with the research that people had done. And so, side note, agreed. I've seen some significant voluntary efforts been put in from members on this board, particularly Travis. But bridging the gap between the thoughts and voice of the community is going to take more than giving recognition to ourselves on this board. Is going to take exposure. And think about it, it's 2021. My phone's dinging 3 times right now. I've gotten notifications on the computer. The kids are screaming. There's all this stuff going on. There's no time to sit, oh yeah, let me check, since the Alpine community planning groups, their meetings are recorded in minutes. So let me go back and read that so I can catch up to date. We don't have a big hoorah at our town hall meeting. People aren't interested, they're not engaged, and that's part of our normal day-to-day lives now, is that we are so fast-paced, and it's not that there's not time or interest, it's just that it's really, really hard to fit that public service or public engagement into individual people's lives. And these people are coming together. It may be rallied around a particular issue specific to the park, but the fact that they're coming together and that they are not required to follow the Brown Act, we are. But if they were given the tools and pieces to review our minutes or review our positions and realize that there is a lot of transparency there in this process, and there's an extreme amount of effort and care for Alpine at large. I truly believe that people have the same intentions to serve the public overall. And I'll just say that my position on the park, I don't necessarily have a personal position. I live further out from Alpine. I don't really mind if there's a park built or not. With that, I'll say that because I don't have a particular position, I should probably listen to all of the best points and concerns of the community, because they're the ones that have the position. And as I weigh that up, maybe I should not really call my personal decision, because it doesn't regard me. It's in regards to serving the voice of the community, right? And that's not giving any particular position, but I don't believe that the uproar that's come from the park, and the not ad hominem, but the attacks, I will say, that have come to the planning group, I don't believe that those are directed with the knowledge of the efforts that have gone in as a public service. And so I think bridging the gap is something that we, me personally, I would love to do anything that I can to make sure that that transparency is transparent and it's apparent and it's here and it's available. What methods that might take, I'm not really sure, but I could ponder on it a few solutions.
Pride myself in transparency and pride myself in giving the opportunity for public engagement. And all I did was entertain a discussion for how we could do it better. I appreciate everybody's participation tonight. I think this was better. I appreciate everybody's patience and understanding that running these meetings virtually is much different than running them in person. There were a number of challenges presented with that, and I did my best to engage public comment, and I read every public comment received to ensure that we did that. And I just wanted to make sure we had a discussion at the end of the last meeting. I mean, maybe it may be recorded and maybe I didn't hear it. There's been a lot of accusations that the group used certain terms about the public that, quite frankly, I didn't hear. I didn't actually hear anybody accuse them of being NIMBY, and I didn't hear anybody accuse them of being ungrateful. And maybe I misheard that, but I didn't hear that. I didn't say it. And I think that was the only thing I'd like to respond to. I feel like I think everybody said tonight, everybody who is engaged, I believe, is engaged for the betterment of Alpine. And we may not always agree on what that looks like, but that is the motives. So with that, I want to thank my planning group. Again, I'm a big boy. I can deal with public criticism. I'm fine with it. I was very disappointed when the group was being criticized for something that, quite frankly, that was not the discussion. It was, how do we do this better? And I've heard from everybody tonight that they were very pleased in the format tonight, and I was as well. So thank you guys for participating. It was great to put names to faces. We will be doing that again. And then here's actually, I guess, the update, and I'll make sure it'll be in the newspaper. The county of San Diego has issued a notice of preparation for their environmental impact for the county park. That was sent out for everybody who's on any interest list. That public comment period started earlier this month and runs through April 7th.
So you know. But going back to just for a quickie, I don't want to belinger this thing as well, but I did say the NIMBY theory when we were having some comments between us as far as that goes, because I think the majority of the comments that we were getting from what you were reading and what you were getting over the internet was negative. And I did express that they were negative, but it was not against anybody specifically as far as that goes. But I mean, they have their right and they have the right to say what they want or don't want as far as that goes. But I just don't think that the people of Alpine understand how long this park thing has been going on. So anyway.
I appreciate that clarification, Mike. And I wasn't saying that it didn't happen. I didn't hear it. I knew I didn't say it, and it wasn't clear who that was said about. I've seen stuff in social media, but not from planning group members. So, anyways, thank you, Mike, for the clarification. And again,
what I got over the internet was a violation for you and George over the Brown Act, which was just craziness. I mean, it was just really stupid as far as I'm concerned. But anyway, I think you deserve to know that I'm 100% behind you and George and all the members of the planning group as far as that goes, because every one of you are dedicated to make Alpine a better place for us to live. That's simple. If they don't like it, it's too bad.
Amen, brother.
All right.
I would anticipate that on that meeting on the 6th, that you will be swamped with people who want to talk for 3 minutes. You could end up into the wee hours of the morning. So I think we need to have a backup plan, if you will, for that issue.
You know, again, and I'll reach out to, obviously, so there's two things. There's standard protocol is 3 minutes. and the group has the ability to change that comment period, depending on the number of speakers forward with that. Even though that'd be a long night, that's within our 3 hours. I think the goal, and this isn't unique to us, this is something that the Board of Supervisors and the Planning Commission and every other public agency I've seen is, ideally, if you have a number of people who are organized and have the same position, providing the opportunity to provide a special presentation, audio, visual, any exhibits they want to present, in up to a 15-minute period is pretty standard. And then if we have a number of speakers who, if we're over that number, if there's 100 people who want to speak, we may vote to amend the number of the allotment to a shorter than 3-minute period. And that's not to limit public comment, that's trying to be respectful. And if we decide, hey, there's too much that we can't get through in one night, we can always delay the meeting or extend the meeting. So,
Can I make another comment? Is that at one point, if there was more than one person, they were basically going to duplicate the effort of the other person. I think we could eliminate that by saying we understand, but if you're going to duplicate the same statement, let's limit that time frame to like maybe 2 minutes or 3 minutes. If they're going to come back and say the same thing.
Yeah, we try not to anticipate what the public comment is going to be for each individual user. Again, we'll look at the number of people who request a speaker slip, and we'll decide if there's going to be any changes in the 3-minute allotment. I'm going to keep saying this, but part of the focus on any of these things is usually to come back and say, hey, if you have an organized group, provide a specific allotment of time to where they can present, and multiple people can present during that time frame, and also present individually. So there's a standard protocol for this, and I'm going to follow it just like every other group I've ever seen do. So
hey Travis, is there anything the rest of us on the board can do to facilitate the communication of that to the rest of the community?
Yeah, however you guys want to put it out. I mean,
because we have to follow those procedures, and they're. I mean, selfishly, I don't want to be there all night either. But if there's a good expectation, we take a preemptive approach versus having to run an audible and last minute there's a whole bunch of people that need to speak, and then I want to plan and alleviate whatever is going to fall on your shoulders there. Last minute, you have to switch things around, and then you have a bunch of angry people that don't get to speak.
I understand. And I mean, like I said, I think we've had meetings, guys. This is the first time we've had to do it over Zoom, but we've had a number of meetings where we've had more people show up than we have time for, and we make that decision at the time as far as, and every group, Planning Commission, Board of Supervisors, everybody else. And in some groups, they say, hey, we have 30 minutes for public comment, and anything else goes at the end of the meeting. We don't do that. I think we've been as transparent as possible and as engaging as possible at every meeting I've ever been at with this group. So,
Mr. Chairman, I have 2 suggestions. It's common for the Board of Supervisors and Planning Commission to have a rule when there's too many people to speak and the cause the meeting to go on for hours and hours, that once a speaker makes a point, the next speaker, they ask, is this a point that you would make, so that we don't have people repeating it? The person could stand up and say, no, I was going to talk about this, thank you. And the second one is that because the community really doesn't understand everything, I'm not sure the board does either, because we really haven't had a chance to have a thorough orientation from the county, that we have the issue first and then the comments afterwards, because the comments will be related to this, but they can be a lot more intelligent because they will understand maybe something that they didn't understand before. And so their comments will be more to the point and more objective.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Hey guys, I'm gonna be honest. You guys would like me to chair. I'm gonna run the meeting.